Okay, cool. Hi, love. So Beth here, and we are doing something fun. So many of you have probably seen interviews that we've done in the past last year, but I haven't done any interviews this year. So I'm really excited to meet with Vida today, who is a sister, a friend, and previously a client of mine. And yeah, we're going to have a juicy conversation really about our soul paths, following our soul callings, and what it means to be a priestess in this modern day world, and all of the different challenges and fun things that come from that. So we're going to get into it. We don't really know what we're going to talk about, honestly. We're just going to see what comes through. So I was going to light the stage with a candle, but it's too big. So starting us off, oh my gosh. And the sage ash just clogged the lighter, which is actually really funny. I have a good plan, guys. Don't worry. We're using Palo Santo instead.
I'll join you.
Okay, great. Awesome. So, and for you watching, beautiful sister, wherever you are, if you have Palo Santo or sage, if you're the one who has sage that is actually able to light, please do so for this conversation. So Vida and I are going to light this Palo Santo and sending these energies to you wherever you are, and to ourselves in this circle of beloveds that are coming in and watching this transmission and opening this space. So awesome. I don't think I've ever seen this done where both people have this. We're getting it from all angles, guys.
All space, all time.
Yeah. So this smoke sent to you. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Palo Santo. So one of the reasons why the heck are we doing this interview? Just because we like to hear ourselves talk? Well, partially, but I'm really interested in having conversations with women, and so Vida's in of course Sisterhood of the Mermaid Moon. You might have seen her sharing before. You might be in her Facebook group. Was it Exquisite Conservatory for the Wise Woman? Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And so our tribe is this collection of amazing priestesses, light workers, whatever kind of terminology you connect with to signify that you're here to embody love. My internet connection says it's unstable, but then it just came back, so that's fine. And we have these ideas that we're supposed to be somewhere that we're not, and we see, and especially if we're coming into this energy of wanting to offer our gifts and offer our heart in terms of services or offerings for other people. If we want to do that, there can be a lot of pressure and patriarchy involved in that, and this idea that we need to be this perfectly put together person with the amazing Instagram images and making a shit ton of money, and all of that dictates our success. And then really that ideology can pull us away from the heart of what it is we're doing, and really connecting with each other in sisterhood and tribe and equality, and just knowing that however we're called to priestess, whether that is through things that might involve business or money, or whether that is really priestessing kind of not in the public realm, that's so beautiful, and we really want to honor that. So loving that we get to have these conversations, and we're going to have a lot more with different women throughout the year, and Vita's kind of going to start us off of what it means to priestess and what kind of challenges come up. And yes, we're going to interweave business into this, we're going to interweave plants into this, and before we get into it, well, we're already into it, but if you don't know Vida, let's meet Vida, okay? And if you don't know me, I'm Beth. I'm just Beth. Hopefully you know me. We're going to introduce Vida. Like, you can go to my website, mermaid-moon.com. I love holding space for women and doing all the things, but you probably know me because we're hosting this. So Vida is, like I said, a client and a sister of mine. And sorry for those of you who are like, what the fuck kind of introduction was that, Beth? Like it's fine. You'll come to know my craziness over time if you follow me. So Vida lives in California right now. Like I said, she's a sister and a former client of mine. And we did a lot of work together over it was probably over a long time. Like, it was supposed to be 5 or 6 months, but with the follow-up call, at least a year that we were, doing that kind of work together. And so Vida originally reached out to me for help with her soul-based business. The reason a lot of people reach out to me. And what that means is that you had a soul calling, and you have a soul calling, and you're called to share that. And you're looking for guidance on how to best do that. And then since then, we've obviously become friends, and we've had a lot of interesting dialogues and conversations. And the thing about anybody that's a coach or a space holder knows is that your clients are also your teachers. And there is that absolute equality there. So it's not that I was necessarily teaching Vida. Maybe I had specific things from my experience that I could share, but also through our interactions, Vida also has taught me a lot, and just our energy, together has, taught both of us a lot, I think. So, Vida, can you talk about what you're called to share with the world, like the kind of medicine that you're called to keep maybe in your own personal life, and also the medicine that you're called to share with other women so they know a little bit more about you?
Yes. So, as most of us, I feel like, can relate to on this journey, a lot of times the medicine that we're called to share is the medicine that we need ourselves as well. So, the medicine that really is alive for me right now is the medicine of embodiment, and really learning what it is to connect with the root. And of course, that is emerging from my own process, of needing to do that healing work myself. So it's hard for me to be concise, but in general, I work with plant medicine. I work with dream medicine. I'm an archetypal and Jungian psychologist, and I love rituals and fairy magic, and I work currently with women to connect with their deep inner self and find out how to honor that in their lives and in their expressions.
Awesome. So beautiful. So if you were kind of interested in anything that Vida just talked about, we are going to have space in the conversation to learn about some of the medicine that she carries. If you're wanting to learn more about plant medicine or maybe dream medicine, etc. But we're actually going to start off this call and this conversation with learning a little bit about the journey, as I often refer to it, of divine feminine in business. And, also priestessing through the sacred technology of business, because I know so many of us are called to share our gifts and also do that in a way that we can actually focus on it. Like, we don't have to go to this job that drains our energy and then 7 o'clock at night figure out, what messages want to come through when we're super tired. Like, we want to be able to focus on it and make space for this as our life path. And the nature of that in this human realm in, 2018 and these years of patriarchy and all this bullshit that the society says to us that, intuitives and creatives can't make money, and, we need to rely on the man or the system to get by, and all of these lack things, they can really, we have to face these parts of ourselves that we've kind of soaked up from society and from our own shadow self. Mm-hmm. So this conversation, as we're talking about divine feminine business, isn't necessarily going to be a super shiny conversation, because I think that the challenges need to be spoken about in a sense that, in the heroine's journey, we don't want to talk about the challenges in the sense of like, fuck, this is so hard. Like, we don't get anywhere. Not like that, but just talk about the heroine's journey from when we're ignited to share, and then knowing that we can, and following through no matter what ups and downs that we go through, and that we're all still in the process. Mm-hmm. And so I know for you've had an interesting journey as we because when we started coaching, we've gone through a lot of waves. Mm-hmm. You're like, I'm ready. I want to do this. I want to launch this program. I want to do this. And then going, my world is going crazy. Like, I need to move. I'm burnt out. I can't launch a program right now. And then kind of now you're in this space of like, hey, I got to do something, it's coming. Mm-hmm. And can you talk to us about how the path isn't linear for us as priestesses and what we're called to share. Like, can you just speak to that journey of like up and down and maybe not being so like fully in a straight line and how that feels? And
yeah, I mean, well, like, I guess the first thing that I want to say is that, I mean, it's all play, right? In some like greater, vaster sense, like that term lila, right? From the Hindus. It's all like divine play. Like we're here to play, right? Yeah. And to like experience ourselves and move through that. And so, yes, I have definitely found myself on various, parts of the dark night of the soul, of being burnt out, of feeling not enough self-love, of not enough self-worth, and how that has really limited my ability to express myself, you know, on this path, you know, and that's been a really real process for me. And, you know, things start to like expand more, like when I feel like we're also connected to it just being part, like this is our life, you know, this is the journey that we go through, and like that's okay, you know. What specifically would you like me to like speak to first?
Well, I'm kind of interested in what you felt really connected to. And I know that there were certain things that through our coaching together and time together, that like creating your own Facebook group, I mean, you did that, you launched into that, you held space, and that's still going and still offering so much space. And then there was this idea of creating this paid for program that like you're ready, but then you weren't ready, and now you're kind of ready, and there's like ambivalence there. And so, yeah, I'm not sure like how to focalize that question, but just this idea of like moving forward and certain things being a fit and certain things that you're ready to do. Mm-hmm. And then maybe speak to maybe the challenges that you're coming up against. Why do you feel, or like the not readiness, did you feel that was really divine and a part of your path? Did you feel that was your own shit getting in the way and something that you just needed to get through, or both? Because I know that like for the woman watching, I mean, some things do feel really easy and we get inspired and we do them. Mm-hmm. And then some things that we want to do just feel like they take so much time, and we beat ourselves up about it. And so, yeah, what do you feel called to offer? What have you felt called to offer that you've kind of done that dance with, and what have you learned from that?
Yes, I felt really called to offer so many years of doing deep soul work, you know, doing work with dreams, doing work with the inner psyche, and like how following out how psyche and soma meet. So like how our inner worlds and our bodies like come together, and how when we attune to those things, it moves our lives forward in a really beautiful way, because we're honoring the unconscious and the conscious. You know, we're honoring the irrational and our sort of ego perspective. You know, we're harnessing, we're creating a unification of the opposites. You know, it's another kind of way to talk about the divine feminine and the divine masculine in some senses, with like a lot of other kind of characters in between. And this work has radically transformed my life. You know, it's been such medicine and such magic for me. I've also studied, you know, herbalism and being connected to the plants, and, you know, tincturing things and wildcrafting has been such a nourishing part of my life. And on my journey, I went and studied to become a therapist, and studied at this school that was, you know, my dream school, Pacifica Graduate Institute. And so I went and I dedicated myself to that for 3 years. And as I moved along my path, it felt really right at the time. And at one point, it stopped feeling right. Actually, right at the end of writing my thesis, and right as I was going into internship, and this was in 2012. And so everything had felt like really aligned, like really good, and just where I needed to be, you know, doing the growth that I needed to do. And then I went into public mental health because when you become a therapist in the United States, you have to do hours. And at that point in time, I was going through a huge breakup, and I felt like I just needed to make money. But I didn't listen to my inner calling. Like, I didn't listen to that part of me that said, you need to just make art and like take time for yourself. And I continued pushing myself, and I continued to feel like I just wanted to finish this thing, this big thing that I had started, and this big degree that I had put so much energy and attention into. And because like my soul, I wasn't honoring my soul in that process. You know, I wasn't honoring my like inner life force energy. I was pushing. And I also was so passionate about my work, you know, but by the time I finally just said enough is enough and decided to move back from that work, I was totally burnt out. Mm. And so I felt like I had been this sort of liver processing like toxins for the world, processing so much trauma. I've been working with a lot of children right before I ended the time, and with children in foster care, and, you know, pretty heavy stuff. And it just really took everything, you know, out of my like stores, you know, my inner storehouses, you might say, of chi, you know, of vitality, and on spiritually, emotionally. And it really, there was so much for me to kind of clear out. And so although I had so much moving through me and so much like visions, that the divine feminine was still very alive in me, my resources and my ability to really hold space and like hold a big container was seriously compromised, you know, for a while. So I finally quit that profession in, it was July of 2016. Okay. And it's been this really big process of restoring since then. Yeah.
So you feel like a part of maybe what you've, I don't know if I want to call it coming up against, but is like that you actually needed to hold space for yourself, because you have to, like, you can't just kind of get inspired and then go hold space for people, because I mean, anybody that's tried that knows that actually space holding, however you think of space holding, requires a connection to the earth, a connection to those lower chakras, like you were saying, and holding other people through what they're going through. And it's not that we can't do that when we're in our own, you know, shit. I mean, when are we never going to be in our own shit as humans? But I can totally relate to that and feel that there's lots of times in the year that I'm like, I'm not launching anything new right now, or I'm not doing videos because I don't feel like it. I need to just like do me. But then when I honor those times, then I can come back with such excitement for whatever that next project is. So I totally feel you on that. So do you feel like you're kind of in this space right now that you're still needing a space hold for yourself? Are you feeling like you're called to be more public, or whatever that is, both and between? Like, where are you at right now with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you know, it's been a really interesting process because, I definitely need to not be 100% like full expansive. I'm finally feeling myself like recovered to some extent, you know, like physically, emotionally, all of that. Like burnout is so real, you know, and so it feels like so amazing to finally be back in that space where I'm just starting to feel my capacity, but I'm not yet fully at like my, you know, 100% fully recovered, fully vital self, like 100% again, you know? So it feels really good for me to be holding space in kind of these more curated ways. You know, like not like full blast.
Right.
And I'm also a really creative person, you know, so full blast for me is kind of a lot, you know? So, I mean, I'm still like creating a podcast. I'm still doing one-on-one like coaching. And I also do work a 3-day-a-week job. So there's still like a lot that I'm doing and creating and playing with and holding moon circles, you know?
Yeah. That kind of like, you're making me think of a couple of different things, and hopefully I can keep my train of thought connected to both of those while I go on this tangent. But I've noticed with my work with women that there is that time that we actually just need to learn about ourselves and grow and heal, or whatever you want to call that inward journey experience. And even though there might be a calling, like I know I want to, you know, hold space for other people or do coaching sessions or start a business or write a book or whatever that is, there is that gestation period, you know, of really like connecting in. And I've had women come to me that are kind of still in the gestation period, but like, I want to be there. I want to be in the birth process. And I can tell energetically that you need to focus on yourself, your own stuff. And then once they have permission, and like, that's okay, that they don't have to be in this productive energy that society values so much. It's like, oh yeah, duh. And then things click for them, and then they can just be in their cocoon. But there's this also other side of that we can make that our kind of go-to for too long. That we can say, oh, I'm not ready, I'm in my gestation period, when in actuality, we are ready, but we don't have to do it this full blast crazy idea of what we think. We can, I see this all the time. People have visions for creating a business or whatever, and they think, well, it's overnight, it's night and day. If I'm doing that, I have to fully do that. When, you know, we're like, well, why don't you maybe curate a Facebook group, open a Facebook group right now? And that can be something sweet and gentle. It takes half an hour of your time every day, something like that. Or why don't you write one blog post a week? You know, and you can still stay in your gestation period and nurture yourself. But there's also that listening, and you have to sit with yourself to know what feels right for you. But know that there's this creative energy that, you know, for me, when I block my creative energy, when I'm not writing, I've had the experience where I didn't write a blog post or I didn't create a video or whatever that is for like a month or 2 months. And I love expressing myself in that way. And like, as soon as I wrote that blog post after that couple months, I just had all of this energy come back, like physical energy. And so I think we kind of have to be like, you know, and it feels like where you're at right now is like you had your gestation period to kind of nurture, and you kind of did a couple different things. And now it's like you're still nurturing yourself, but you are honoring that creative element, and that, you know, that you do desire to be with other people and hold space for other people, share your wisdom, be another voice, add your tapestry into what's happening, and not letting that be too much, you know, just flowing. So if you're listening and you are this person, this woman that wants to create a business or soul-based business or whatever that is, and you've been feeling like it's either all or nothing, I always tell people, like, start small. Start a blog. Maybe hold space for a Facebook group. Maybe you won't have any paid for offerings for a year or 2 years or 3 years. But in that time, or maybe you'll have one in 2 days, but there's other things that you can do in order to allow your creative energy to come through, and also to build your community. Because we've talked about this. So even though you've been in your nurturing gestational period, you know, in some places, we got you to create a Facebook group and curate, and that felt right to you, not because it was the right thing to do, but because that felt actually exciting to you. And you've been curating that, and you've been inviting new women in, and you've been nurturing people in that. So whenever you're ready to have that next offering, whether that's one-on-one sessions or whether that's a longer term journey, I mean, you have this community now that you can bring that to. Right?
And it feels so good. It feels so good. And it feels good Also to have this sacred container that I get to share like my inner process of growth and learning, because we're all learning together. And it's really amazing to have this special container, this alchemical container that I can go to and share sweet offerings with, like in the middle of this journey, you know, because we're always in the middle of some journey.
Yeah. And so you've done that, and like, that's such a present thing for me, because it comes up over and over with different women, that I've even been getting comments or messages lately about like, I'm in my gestational period, or whatever languaging they have for that. So I'm not ready. I know I want to start a business, but I'm not doing anything right now, but I'm excited one day. And I just think, if that is really honestly and true for you, great. But remember that business is just this idea, this technology that means that we're getting our creative energy, our wisdom, messages, divine energy out. Mm-hmm. And in all likelihood, it's going to be both. We're not black and white. We're not full gestational or like full on producing. We can have like, even throughout your day, right? I mean, you're sleeping sometimes and then you're doing stuff sometimes, like in one day. So yeah, I mean, consider, you know, starting a blog. I mean, there's so many women that are saying all these beautiful things that are inspiring in Facebook groups. And then that's it. They're done. It leaves. And that, you know, so, but one day I want to start my business. Well, go create a blog and put those musings on the blog. And you can share those over time, or those blog posts can attract Google visitors. And eventually on that blog, you can create an about page and eventually a services. And you can do this like one at a time. And it doesn't I'm just keep saying the same thing over and over again, but it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And that's the way that the world has shown us to be, that full-on masculine drive, go full steam ahead, or just, you know, nothing, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, like one of the things that's been really hard for me to break through is feeling like I need to sort of be there, you know, like be fully healed, you know, be like fully in my, you know, 200% capacity, because when I'm at my full capacity, I really have like kind of a very large capacity. Yeah. And feeling like it's hard for me sometimes to get really vulnerable and share my wounds, you know, and yet it's like, there's so much medicine there, and it's like what connects us. And also I think it's really important not to continue to participate only in this like linear sort of thinking. Like, I'm here and I want to be here, and I want to be here and have my business set up. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to take these like linear steps, you know?
It makes so much sense, right? Isn't that how you do it?
Oh my God. And then it's like, in my process, like that meant doing way too much like online research and listening to people I probably shouldn't have been listening to, you know, and like writing things that didn't have resonance behind them, you know, like I was just before this call kind of redoing my about page. I'm still in the process of that, you know, and I like had all of these like scripts that I had come across, and like people were really trying to put out good content, you know, from the best of their ability, you know.
They're trying to help.
But you know what? If I read that to my best friend, like
what the fuck?
So like not on point, you know? It's like what we want to put out there is like what we would authentically say to a good friend and have it like feel good, you know? And like truthful, and like what we would say in a sisterhood circle. Not like trying to get something from somebody. And like, you know, it's our process, right? It's like that secular, it's like, okay, we want to be expressing. I want to be expressing. I want to, you know, express more. I want to share more, and I want to share my story, you know, hence here I am with you. But, you know, if we're just like thinking like, oh, this one day, you know, then it's like, it sucks, like to not really be with like where we're at right now, and like sharing, because isn't that what it is? Like just sharing our inspiration and sharing what's alive for us right now, and like having those like sparks of connection. I mean, that's essentially what a spiritual business is, right?
Yeah, totally. Totally. Exactly. Yeah. And there's so many things that I was just going to say to that, and they all flew out of my mind, but I'm just seeing this circular, this spiral right now. And that's the woman's wisdom. I mean, the spiral is a symbol of, I guess, woman's wisdom, woman's trajectory, how the universe actually works in a lot of ways, where we can be here and we don't even need to follow the spiral like that. I mean, my experience is that you actually can jump across this and just be a hot mess and have it work. And that piece around needing to be fully healed or fully have it together. I mean, oh my gosh, there's so many, even just in terms of what I have released in the past, there's so many programs or different things that I've been like, there's been that little shadow voice that's like, this isn't good enough. I mean, I basically have that for everything that I do. There's always that shadow voice that says, this isn't good enough. And yeah, and your face is like, oh, really? I was like, yeah, absolutely. And what we do is we let that shadow voice magnetize and say, well, then it's not good enough. I mean, even for this interview, like as we're kind of getting into the flow, there's these voices going, oh, this needs to be a good interview. This has got to be good for people and all of this stuff. And when really it's just like, let's just play. Let's just play. Let's just play and know that everyone has that going on, because this is the nature of being human at this time, that everyone goes, I'm not good enough, or I'm not healed enough. And if you're waiting for, this magical point where you're going to have it all together and you think, okay, it's in 3 years, that's when I'm going to have my shit together and be healed and be somewhere. I tell you, in 3 years, ask yourself in 3 years, give me some guidance. And that self will probably do just start where you're at now. You're so whole, you're so healed. Maybe hopefully your 3 year self will be that wise, but maybe ask your just higher self. That's easier. And the messaging that'll come through is allow yourself to, as you're saying, be vulnerable and show up, because people don't need your perfection. Because your perfection is not actually real unless we're talking about divine perfection. And the way that like I said, there's so many tangents based on what you just said that I want to kind of see how many we can get to. But knowing that everyone feels that, questioning if their stuff is good enough, et cetera, at least sometimes everyone has that. So you're not alone. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't release what you have to release. Yeah, I mean, that's so huge. And then also knowing that in our vulnerability and in sharing our wounds and the things that we don't have perfect, we actually create rapport, we create trust, we create connection. And that's really needed right now. As we all know, I mean, I don't know very many people who haven't scrolled through Instagram and felt kind of like shit, because everyone's life is so cool and so perfect. And here we are and fucking ate too much sugar that day and had a headache and didn't do what we said we were gonna do, and just looked like a hot mess and whatever, right? Normal. And sharing that, even as I'm saying this, as you're listening, you probably feel a level of connection with me going, oh my God, me too. And so to share those vulnerable stories and to share that oh my God, I'm a hot mess, I'm not perfect. I mean, you could probably create, and I know there's people out there, if your whole business was, I'm a hot mess, I'm not perfect, and that's all you talked about, I mean, you could for sure have millions of people following you and be making also a shit ton of money if you wanted to. And the basis of your business was, I'm a hot mess, I have nothing together. And people would be like, this girl's cool, I like that. And I'm sure that exists. I mean, I know I've seen YouTube channels where people are just ridiculous and just sharing all the bullshit that happens in their life that's so funny, and you know that image of the celebrity images, and then that woman who's slightly overweight is doing the same thing, and it's so funny. That's what I mean. That went crazy viral. You've seen it. And she's just ha, I am not nowhere near perfect. I'm going to show everybody. And everyone's yeah, I'm going crazy over that. That shit is magnetic. People like that. So if we're having these ideas okay, in order to really expand and reach people, I've got to be this. No. You got to be the reason why a lot of clients have worked with me and I've received money from my soul work which I think is beautiful. And I think I have a whole other conversation around how receiving money can be really sacred and beautiful, and we can release the taboo around that. But they've said to me, I originally was guided towards you because you share vulnerable things, and I connected with you in that way. You shared this blog post that I really liked, or this, like, so yeah, that piece. And you've experienced that. What was that like for you? Like, because obviously in our time together, I encourage all of my clients to be vulnerable, to share real stories before, you know, the knight in shining armor has shown up, or whatever that is. What was that like for you? What is that like for you to get vulnerable? Is that easy for you? Has that always been easy for you? Is that hard for you in between? Like, what's that like?
It's interesting. Okay, this is multi-layered for me. So in person, one-on-one, it's really easy for me to get vulnerable and really, really deep and like show myself. Online, a lot has come up for me around this. It's been really interesting. The first time I did a live video, I had a panic attack.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Like an actual panic attack?
Yeah, like an actual panic attack.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was horrible. What's that?
You should make a live on that, talking about it.
Okay, yeah. No, I had a panic attack. You know, like my heart rate totally like, you know, I've got trauma in my background, and it was so interesting, like to have that, like to be with the unknown, you know, and to kind of like have that unknown of like how people were going to perceive me. I didn't realize that this was going to come up for me at all, you know? But it really put up a mirror for me, you know, it really put up a mirror to have another layer of sitting with the unknown and sitting with allowing myself to be seen. And I think this is a big thing for a lot of women. Like, is it safe to be seen?
Yeah.
Like, you know, is it safe for me to show myself? And like, what are the wounds and what are the sort of narratives I'm telling myself? Like, what am I holding on to here? You know? And like, there's still seeds of that for me, you know? But I finished the live video. I like the practice of meditation, you know, allowed me to have that observer and to kind of just be with that experience, be with the experience of panic and anxiety. And I was actually talking about alchemizing depression, which is hilarious. But that I had the panic attack like during that whole discussion. So I was able to sit with the experience and just allow myself to move through that, you know. But so me, it's been really interesting. So that was my first experience, and then also it's been really amazing, you know, to share things. And in my community, I've had people come up to me, like people who I never would have thought like read my posts, like say, this is really important. Like, please continue sharing this, you know, and it has created a lot of connections, like sharing my vulnerability. But yeah, I'm still working through different layers of being seen, and there's deep desire to share more.
So my question for you then is, after that, did you make other Facebook Live videos that you ended up enjoying or feeling, you know, you had fun with? That's my first question.
Definitely. Well, after that, I actually ended up joining this, what is it? Like a challenge, like a Facebook Live challenge. And it was really intense. And I ended up doing a Facebook Live like every single day. And it just like, it was like a all up and down thing, like my emotions, you know? But it was so incredible. It really helped me just like break through.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's been Facebook Live videos that just like energize me and make me feel just like
so good,
so expansive and so connected. Yes.
Okay. Because my point with that is, So even though you had this, like, I mean, you had a panic attack, and after you could have easily said, well, Facebook Live's not for me. Video is not my thing, you know, and made that the, like, conclusion. Super easily you could have done that. And you could have spiritualized it. You could have said, well, this just isn't in the flow. This just doesn't feel right. It's not for me. And then put it away. But intuitively, you got real and had the sense that, like, there's actually, I'm pushing through stuff. I'm pushing through my wounding. This doesn't mean that it's not right for me. It just means that I have some work to do, some alchemizing to do. And then now you're in this flow where you can get on and a lot of the time be really excited and energized. Or even do a video like this. We're not live, but, well, we're live with each other. So, you know, we're live with all y'all, you know. Yeah, because I think women do that. We do that. We try new things and they don't work out exactly the way we wanted to. I mean, I had one launch, one of my first, like, launches. And if you're into online marketing or anything like this, or you're just observing, you'll see that, you know, launches. Okay, so there's free content. There might be 3 free videos, something like this. And then there's a paid for offering. And for the first couple years of my business, I didn't do this at all. It was just one-off. I would just talk about what I was doing, and that was it. And then I kind of, oh, this, like, launch thing, I'm going to try this. And then I did this launch, and I put a ton of work into it, like, so much work into it. And then 2 people signed up for the course, which actually I should have been stoked about that, honestly. I should have just been like, but to me, that was like failing. Because it was a low price point. So I think I only made like a couple $100 of, like, you know, 3 weeks of work or whatever. And I sent out an email and a blog post. You can probably find it somewhere on the interweb that said, I don't know if I'm ever going to launch again. You know, this process was so hard for me. And as you know, I'm like, try to be really real with people. So I was like, you can sign up for this, but fuck, this is hard right now because I don't know if I'm ever going to launch again. Just like my journal and like send it out as an email. I don't know if you should always do that, but, like, fuck it, whatever. It's worked for me. So, and it's funny because it's like, and then I just went and I tried it again. And then I tried it again. And then I tried it again. And then I tried it again. And every single time I launch, I have fear, except the last time for a Walking as Priestess journey. I didn't have fear about that. And so that's sweet. But pretty much every other time, really deep-seated fear around security, safety. It's all real. Is what I believe in real? Am I actually an abundant being? Is the universe actually supporting me? All of this stuff. And yeah, and now I'm in a place where, like I said, I can launch. I can feel pretty good about it. I still might have some fear come up. And guess what? I get to make a full-time income and I get to travel and do all those things. And if I would have quit when I said, oh, 2 people signed up, it was really hard. And if I would have actually gone through with that, I don't know if I'm ever going to try this again. Shit, I would not have some magical, you know, pyramid experiences and walking through the streets of Jerusalem. And, like, because all of that has come from, you know, the financial freedom and flow has allowed me to do those things. So yeah, I mean, I think we both have those experiences. I mean, everybody has, where you try something and it doesn't work out, or you feel like you failed, or it's really scary, and then you just try it again.
Yeah, and, like, all of your efforts have also allowed so many other connections. Like, I mean, I've had a personal connection with you, you know, like, for me, I really liked your content and where you're coming from, but I also really like that you were silly and, like, that you have, like, a little voice. Like, for me, I have my, like, fairy voice. And so, and that's how I talk with my friends. And so, like, I was like, oh yes, she can make little voices. She can be silly, you know, like, I can relate to her. And it's created so much connection. You know, I look at, like, the healing world as, like, a mycelium network, you know, and that we, like, all really, like, if we're healers and we're going to be space holders, we also really need to have space held for us.
Can you say what mycelium is for those of people watching that don't know that term?
Yes. So mycelium are basically the underground network of fungal connections, like, that run through the forest, and they connect, you know, different mushroom types, but also they help move nutrients across the forest floor. They help tell different trees if there are things that they need to create protection for, if there's like infection in the forest. It is absolutely amazing. It's
So
like
it'll
the
be like an
underworld.
infection like 20 meters away, and then the tree will
The mushrooms tell the other trees. Like, I know.
I know it was a communication network, but like, I don't know, just thinking about it like that, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, fuck yeah, nature.
Yeah. So I see it as like us all kind of supporting each other and getting support, you know? So for me, it was really important. Like one of the biggest things I feel like I have gained from you is that again and again and again, you've asked me like, what is real, you know? And beyond, I mean, like power and privilege and intersectionality, like those are things that are real. They are very real, you know? And also creating narratives that don't allow us to expand have their real impact.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, I was really locked in some stories, and I was at a point where I was going through some radical transformation and shifting my relationship with both of my parents, my mother wound and my father wound. And I needed to connect to source love. And like, you have really helped me like ground that in. And like, it's been like, you know, I needed that. I needed a sacred sister, a non-pathologizing presence to hold that for me.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And also like through your group that you created, I connected with Maggie Burrows, and now she's like one of my best friends, and we create a podcast together and like connect, support each other on this journey because you didn't quit.
Yeah, because I didn't quit. And if you're watching and you're wondering like, well, what do I have to create or give, or like, how is this going to make any difference? Or is coaching or is working one-on-one with people or is space holding valuable? Because a lot of the time when we think about working with people one-on-one or coaching, we're like, who would pay us for that? I mean, that's so etheric and doesn't really have value or weight, and we discount that, so we're not able to receive for that. And you can actually hear a transmission of working one-on-one together with you, and you're saying, yeah, I really benefited from that in this way. I also benefited from the Facebook group in this way. And I think it's good for people to hear that, oh, okay, this is an actual real life case of one-on-one coaching work, a Facebook group, you know, actually doing something for somebody, which is really, there are a lot of coaching sessions that are really profound, whether it's with me or with someone else. I mean, like, this is good work, our work together, where when you work one-on-one, when you give a reading, when you host a women's circle, is good, valuable work, really. Really it is. And I have to bring myself back to that, because to this day I still feel one of my limiting beliefs is my work is too etheric, too spiritual to have weight, to create shifts, to bring about the resources that I want to bring about, et cetera, et cetera. So presencing that shadow as well, because I think a lot of us have that. Coming up. So I want to weave into a couple of the things that we wanted to talk about in terms of, the actual content of your work. I feel like we could talk about this. I would have the next 3 hours talking about divine feminine in business. Maybe I will just keep talking about it. That's why I do what I do. But I want to hear from, the actual content of your work and the things that inspire you to go out and to create and do these things. So I know that we were talking before we started recording about something that's come into your awareness recently, and I'd love for you to share, what's coming up for you, what's real for you about these interesting things, ideas that are coming into your field right now.
Any particular thread?
The Bali, the priestess, the forest.
Okay. Yes.
That
actually weaves in perfectly to what I wanted to respond with just now. Like, once again, like thinking cyclically, okay, so most of us want to create some kind of expression in the world, right? We want to express our genius. We want to express our brilliance. And we're at this point in time where many women, and men too, but I'm just going to speak for women because that's my experience.
Yeah. Like, why don't you work with men? I'm like, I have no idea how men think or operate. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm like, also, I like focus that as my niche in my bachelor's degree and my master's degree. I've been focusing on this for many years now, writing on this. There's many other, yeah. Anyway, that's a side note. But you know, there's so much inner work to be done here, you know, and in moving through and making ourselves come to a place where we feel enabled and feel the gateways open to share that, because that's what we want to do, right? We want to express what we're inspired by. We want to connect with other people, and we ultimately want to be seen, you know, in our brilliance, even if it feels scary, right?
Yeah.
And yet, like, for me, I've had to ask myself, like, along this journey, and also feeling through failure. I mean, you know, like, there was a part of me that definitely did feel like, oh, I failed, you know, but it's like, I'm going to keep going, you know?
Exactly. If you take nothing else, just take that. I feel like I failed. Keep going.
Yeah. What's next? What's happening? What's going on inside? Yeah. There's always something rich happening if we turn inwards, you know? But beyond like just also creative expression, you know, like what is real? Like what is the container like for all of this for me? And I was just sharing with Beth at the beginning of this interview that for me, what feels really real is that not only is this priestess path this path of finding deep connection with inner spiritual growth and inner soul connection, it's not only about like moving inwards, but interiority as moving outwards into the world. You know, like how do we connect with the forest? And for me, like that's what's really real, is that like, how do I connect with abundance, you know, as I look and connect with all of these berries in the forest? You know, how do we losing my articulation here.
You're being recorded. You're like, I would never forget this normally, but like you see this recording, you're like, damn it, I forget everything.
So what all inspired this moving backwards was rereading this article that from this author I really love, David Abram, on the ecology of magic, and his work with Balinese and Nepalese shamans, witches, and priestesses, and how he really saw their work being primarily working with the forest and working with the plants and working with the trees. And then secondarily, using those experiences as they tend to basically soul in the world, you know, to bring that medicine back, you know, and having almost like a secondary effect of having all that time with all of the spirits of the forest being able to nourish the magical properties to then come back and heal humanity. And just how, for me, what's really real is not only cultivating like my own inner process, cultivating processes for other women, midwifing that, but also really being true to cultivating relationship with the earth and listening to the earth and what she's asking us right now. And how there's a call, I think, right now to really deeply listen to the medicine from the earth and what she's asking of us. You know, how can we give back, and how can we really be in tune with what is true and true magic, you know, like through our connection with the wildness in the world.
Yeah, and the element of creative genius, I mean, it's all interwoven it, but it's because it's not just our creative genius of like, what's for my individual self, what am I excited about, which is still valid. There's a reason why we're individuals, and I don't think we should, bash it all the time. But yeah, there's that creative genius, but also when you tap in and start listening of like that kind of surrendered energy, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to whom? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what really is behind all of this of what's Mama Gaia saying? What is source energy saying? What is needed at this time? And how can we be vessels and channels for what wants to come through? And I can feel intuitively that there's many of us that are too much in the individual realms, probably myself included. I got a message the other day that I need to have more prayer and intention for the collective, mm-hmm. rather than just my own individual goals, right? Yeah, and just feeling what wants to come through, and that's like that's the magic for me. Mm-hmm. Going out into the forest and just listening. It's just like, I mean, I was doing that yesterday and I was like, I need to do this every day. Like, why have I been sitting inside for, it's too long, right? So yeah, and especially if we're wanting some more direction or if we're unclear about what's going on, rather than watching your 5th workshop, for the week and, listen to our interview. Great. I'm stoked. You're going to benefit from this, but really like not searching outside. Mm-hmm. And reconnecting and going, yeah, what's real? Let's go out into nature. Let's feel the forest. Let's feel the stream. Let's feel the ocean. And if you're looking for direction, I mean, you'll find it. You'll find it through the forest or through whatever natural energies that you want to connect with, the moon, the stars, the ground, the earth. And I think that's what differentiates us as priestesses and wild women and this movement of the divine feminine coming up, that this isn't a movement that's small or transient or about our individual selves. This is literally us being vocal pieces for the earth, bodies for the earth, and living and breathing together and just feeling what wants to come through. And like the level of purpose that we can experience when we're connected to that is huge. So this kind of naturally flows into my next question for you is, if women are like, that sounds amazing, and some of you listening might be like, yeah, I get that, I feel that, I feel connected to the earth right now, but some of you might be listening and going, shit, I don't really fucking know what they're like, or I don't really know what they're talking about, or like I kind of like I do know what they're talking about, yeah, I do, but I'm disconnected from it. I mean, I've been, I'm working a job 9 to 5. I mean, I'm tired at the end of the day. I'm not sitting with my, So if women are like, I want to get more in touch with the earth and plants, because I know that one of your, Vida is a medicine carrier for the herbal realm. I mean, I've always known that when we have been working together, and that's one of the things that comes most strongly through her when I connect with you. And so, medicine keeper of the plants, if we want to get more in touch with plants, in a pretty simple way, like what can we do in our daily lives is just going to help us to find that rhythm with Mama Gaia, so we can listen to her, so we can receive from her, so we can know how she's asking us to give back. Mm-hmm.
I would say in the most simple sense, like get up close and personal. I think that anywhere we can usually find a tree, even in a 7-Eleven parking lot. Really, seriously, right? And like that's what some people's lives are,
For sure.
And even though it's totally not sexy, but like if we want to find that connection, it will present, right? And so to me, I feel like the best way to get to drop into the plant medicine is to sit with plants, is to literally get up close and personal. Like smell the plants, like go put your face up next to the tree, and drop in, like get into stillness, like in whatever the best way how, right? So you can at least move your orientation to listening,
right?
Because to me, there's like this, there's actual ingesting of plants you know, and taking tinctures and making plant medicine. And then like the most subtle realm of it is literally just sitting with a plant and like hearing the wisdom that it has to tell you. And it's just subtle imaginal process. And we all have it. We just need to take the time to do it, you know? So I guess for me, like when it comes to like plant magic or plant medicine, it's really about taking the time to just sit with plants, you know, like the plants, you can go to the forest. I mean, it feels really supercharged for me when I go to the forest. And like find one tree or one fern or whatever plant that like speaks to you and seems interesting to you. Like find that one like patch of ferns and sit with it and just notice what comes into your mind and notice like how your body shifts and notice if there's anything different that happens like when you're in the presence of that particular plant or tree or shrub or flower or what have you, you know, like notice like the subtle shifts. And if you dedicate time to like anything, you know, your relationship with it will grow. Right. And so to me, like even also getting seeds, like say, I'm trying to think, like a tree, you know, like tree seeds, you know, you can eat most of the time find those on the ground. You know, or like radish seeds even, you know, if you hold them in the palm of your hand and you just allow yourself to go into meditation and you ask for wisdom to be told to you, most oftentimes, like most people are going to get a really beautiful message, like coming to them, you know? And, yeah, maybe I'll pause there for a moment as a first.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's like simple yet profound. I think it's so simple that we can really miss it.
Mm-hmm.
And what comes to mind as I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go, inspired. I'm gonna go back to the forest. I'm gonna make some food and go to the forest for sunset and just sit. And then, if I'm paying attention to any resistance in my body around that, it's because that requires me to slow down. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, today I've been in this realm of like, okay, I got this ceremony, I got this interview, I got this. And most of us, that's how we're living our lives, right? We got this, we got this, we got this. We might have kids, we might have the to-do list, we might have an appointment, we might be in traffic. And so as I pay attention, I'm aware that in order to actually have that deeper connection with Gaia and all of her beautiful little planties and who are our brothers and sisters, and in order to actually feel their wisdom and have that affect my life in a real way, I need to slow down, which is something I've been working on for a while, but especially in the last year when, you know, one of my mentors was just like, you slow the fuck down. Okay. And yeah, so just weaving that piece of, even though that wisdom is so simple and seems so accessible, that just honoring that there's probably parts of us, and maybe if you're listening, you're like, yeah, that seems amazing, I just don't do it. Mm-hmm. You know, allowing yourself to challenging yourself, mm-hmm. you know, challenging ourselves to slow down and just to fucking do it and get out there and breathe and see how it feels. And if you hate it and if it's super boring, then fine, at least you tried it, you know. But in all likelihood, when you get out and you just let yourself slow down, you're like, oh, this is actually great. And the ego mind, for me at least, goes, oh, but that's boring. It's so slow. Nothing's happening up there. There's no Wi-Fi. I can't like create anything, you know. And then I go out there and I'm just like, this is the best, you know. Mm-hmm. So just wanting to presence that, because, you know, as you know, if you've been connecting with me for a while or whatever, I do like to talk about some of the shadow things that come up so they don't have power, you know?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And also, so even like backing up just from plants, like from the archetypal and eco-psychological perspective, like soul, that's soul work actually. So from like a Gnostic archetypal perspective, soul doesn't, it's not this thing that is unseeable. It's not totally ethereal, actually. Soul is something that manifests itself in specific images. Everything is in expression. And so soul is expression. So when, like, each plant, you know, is expressing itself, like each animal has its particular way of creating beauty. Even fishes who live in pitch black, like they actually have color. It's amazing, even though there's no light down there. And so when we go outside, like I even go outside in my yard, and it's not the most like pristine, gorgeous yard, you know, but each time I go out there, even for 10 minutes, and I allow whatever it is that sparks my interest, and I follow that, and I let my attention rest on that, it teaches me something, you know. And whether it's like a little bird in a tree, you know, or I'm bending down and I'm seeing how a plant grows, you know, or I'm smelling the rain. And, you know, if we take the time, you know, to really notice whatever it is, like that's our soul. Like that's our soul starting to tell us how it wants to move, you know, and moving us out of like habit thinking and habit patterns, right? Because we kind of sometimes curb our growth by dominating our own soul, you know, curbing the natural impulses that like want to come through because they're not civilized.
Yeah, that's such a great invitation to just really pay attention to those. And in my experience, it's those subtle moments that bring some of the most profound sense of awe. I mean, honestly, the best times in my life, the times that I remember those moments are not the times that I got something that I really wanted, or I made a shit ton of money, or I don't know, things like this, or even like the orgasms that have been great. I mean, the times that I'm remembering right now are like walking home from New Year's night, and I just saw this tree, and I was just like, and I just was hit by a wave of awe and just sacred, and just felt the sacredness of all life, and it was so pure. Or walking in Greece and feeling kind of sick, and then seeing the sunset and just going, and just receiving all of this. So I don't know, that's what I'm thinking of when you said that. Yeah, I know that. I'm not sure how long we've been going, but I'm feeling it's time to wrap up. And yeah, so I'm excited. So if you want to join this conversation, you're already a part of it. You're already in our roundtable. But if you want to comment on wherever you're seeing this video, whether that's in the Sisterhood of the Mermaid Moon, if that's in Vida's Facebook group, or on the blog, YouTube, I mean, it's going to live in a few different places. If you want to comment, let us know what sparked your interest, any questions that you have, anything that you can relate to, any stories that you feel are connected to this. We would love, I'm sure Vida as well, we would love to hear what's real for you, what's coming through, and have this conversation and continue it. And yeah, thank you so much for meeting with me. It's been such a pleasure, lots of fun, and I'm super motivated to do more interviews this year, because it's like, man, I do love to talk, but I mean, it's kind of nice when you can actually have a conversation on video. So I have a question for you. When we finish this call, are we going to just totally finish and the recording and everything's going to be finished at once and really like fully say goodbye? Or is it like, okay, bye guys. And then you guys get the inner, it's vulnerable. It's not even that vulnerable, but
I just pressed stop recording and then we're still here.
Oh, okay, cool. So now you guys know if you use Zoom, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, that kind of, as we leave, that kind of highlights one of the core ideas that we were talking about is, fuck, it's okay if you don't know how the call-ins and you just ask somebody, and the ego mind's going, that's not professional. That's not like, we're supposed to have it fully dialed. I'm like, dude, no, you're not. If that's how we live our lives, you're not going to get anything out there. Mm-hmm. You know, you're not going to get anything out there, because you're going to be like, you know, if you watch a lot of my content, I don't know, maybe your content too, but definitely my content, I mean, I think it's pretty like, I'll just go off on tangents or laugh or just fuck something up, and I put it out there anyway, because fuck it. I love this quote by Andy Warhol. while people are deciding if they like what you've created, like if it's bad or good. Like he's like, I'm just off creating more art.
Yeah, I mean, I because I work, I sometimes come home inspired, and my favorite thing to do at nighttime is get into my woolly, fluffy, what's it called, bathrobe. I feel like a little Totoro in my bathrobe. It is like so not sexy. And I make a video like in that, you know what I mean? It's like, it's casual.
Yeah, for real. I mean, it's nice sometimes to have your makeup and all this done, and stuff, but it's also can be equally as refreshing to just say fuck it. So yeah, as we send you off, you know, fuck it. Like this is just something like my mom hates when I swear. She thinks it's so unprofessional and like she's like, how does anyone want to work with you when you're swearing? I'm like, whatever, mom. So I just have this resonance. I'm just like, fuck it. Let's like be messy, wild women, connected to the earth, connected to the soil, listening, creating, coming in and resting, and then coming out and expressing and just dancing with that more primal, Kali, don't give a fuck energy. And maybe, yeah.
What else do we want? I mean, what else do we really want, right? Like, don't we just want more of those moments where we look up at the tree and go, ah?
Yeah.
Ah. When we're in love?
I do. And yeah, so I'm excited for everybody, to send you off and just looking forward to everybody's wild woman expressions coming through and letting things be imperfect and fuck it. And yes, you can make a living with that energy. Fuck it. Can you really make a living with that? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so much love to all of you. Thank you for joining us. And again, please be in contact with us. But anything that comes up, questions, stories, we want it. We love it. And with that, we say goodbye. Any parting words, Vida?
Yeah, go outside.
God. I will. I just need to make a bit of food and then I'm going.
Okay. And if you want to connect with me.
How can people connect with you if they're new to you?
Yeah. Well, my website is goldenboughcoaching.com, like a tree bough, Bough. And then my Facebook group is the Exquisite Conservatory of Wise Women.
Yeah.
And I am coming up with a coaching program called it is halfway there. I was hoping to have it ready for this thing, but it just need a little bit more time.
So if people do want to connect, so do you do one-on-one coaching? Do you do readings? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, so I do one-on-one coaching. I do tarot readings. If you want a consultation on working with herbs energetically, I do that. I do Jungian archetypal dream work, and the program I'm coming up with is called the Medicine Magic of Feminine Power, and it is it's about all the things I've learned, what I just described, basically about moving through like the first 3 chakras and basically moving through like deepening our intuition, honoring ourselves, like finding those impulses of expression, finding that sense of play, and then moving into like radiant expression, like, you know, through our joy. So that is the culmination of my work over the past year.
Okay, cool. And I will include those links as well where I share this video, so it's easy for people to find you. Okay, so lots of love, peeps, and have the best day ever.
Okay. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.